Clara. Lisa Salters is standing by with the winning quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy, this was your first home win in over a year. What finally felt good about home sweet home tonight?
I think we got off to a fast start. I think that played a huge role. Jimmy Ward played a hell of a game. He really did, just from start to finish. And when we could play that complimentary football and get the fans going like this, it makes for a fun night.
You said that it felt different this week in practice. How did that translate onto the field?
I think just guys were locked in. I mean, when you lose a tough one like we did last week, it's just, I don't know, you get Monday Night Football only once a year, so you got to come out ready to play.
Kyle Shanahan talked about imposing your will with physicality. You guys knew you wanted to run the ball tonight. They knew you wanted to run the ball tonight. How were you able to run the ball tonight?
I mean, it's just those guys up front really set the tone early on. The receivers did a great job. When your receivers can play like that, play physical like Debo played, BA played, it sends a message to the rest of the team.
Yeah, you mentioned Debo. Like, what message did he send, and how did he set the tone early?
Oh, man, he did it early. He did it the whole game. Just every time he caught the ball, I mean, the first guy wasn't tackling him. It would take 2 or 3 guys, and when you could do that, it makes for a long night.
All right, you needed this win. You're now 4-5, still in the mix for that third wild card spot. What needs to happen now to keep this turnaround alive?
Well, we got a quick week this week going on in Jacksonville, so just got to be ready to turn it around and just get back right to it. It's no real secret to it. Just got to go play better.
Thanks, Jimmy. Congrats on the win tonight.
Definitely. Appreciate it.
Do your research on this Week 10 finale. The Niners dominated thoroughly. They possessed the ball over 39 minutes, the most in a game all season. They converted on 8 third downs, also the most in a game all season. Part of why you get a 10-minute drive there in the first quarter for a touchdown. Niners' first home win, as Lisa was mentioning, since Week 6 of last season, which also came against these Rams. San Francisco had lost 8 consecutive home games since, tied with Detroit for the longest active home losing streak entering tonight. But it continues a trend. Sean McVay, 5 consecutive losses against Kyle Shanahan, which dates back to 2019. One of only 3 head coaches with an active losing streak of at least 5 games against another head coach. The others being Nagy against LaFleur, Flores versus McDermott. All right, we get back to the booth as we do every Monday night. Louis Riddick and Brian Greasy standing by. And Louis, I don't know if I was on an island, but I'm a Shanahan and a Niner believer, all right? And this game is what they look like when they play to their ceiling. I just wonder, from your vantage point, what about tonight was different and what allowed them to be who they were?
Well, I think they went back to who they are. And I don't think they necessarily got away from who they were before, but tonight they just executed on it. And that just starts with the kind of attitude that they want to play with, which is a very much so a physical type of attitude. And not just on offense, but on defense also. The running game sends a message for an offense better than anything else in football. And it also sends a message to the defense that if you don't have an answer for it, you're going to get more of it. And that's what he sent. That's the message he sent to the Rams tonight. He said, Raheem Morris, if you don't have an answer, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to run it down your throat over and over and over again. And the players just embodied that. And then on the defensive side of the football, this is a team that's been giving up yards hand over fist, man. I mean, they've been getting run through. They've been playing good red zone defense, but they've been giving up a lot of yardage. And tonight, D'Amico Ryan's had them playing. Their big-time playmakers stepped up. Nick Bosa stepped up. Eric Armstead stepped up. Fred Warner was all over the field. This is who they want to be. Now, the question is, Scott, can they stack performances together like this week after week? Because not every game's a Monday night game. Not every game's a game against a division opponent. Now you're going across country down to Jacksonville. What are you going to do then? That's the question.
Defense and running, as you guys know, that typically travels. We'll see if it does for San Francisco. And, Brian, look, this is the second time this has happened to the Rams. Arizona did it, ran it down their neck as well. And this is now 2 performances in a row from the Rams entering a bye that not what they want to put on tape, right? The Titans and now this one. So as they go into this bye week and get ready to head to Lambeau, they're assessing what they need to do. If you're telling them, what would your answer be?
Well, you have to look first at the similarities between the 2 teams they just lost to. They are physical teams, and you could quantify them as bullies. And they're going to force you to play the run. They are not going to play into your hand. And so the Rams right now, Raheem Morris, Sean McVay, they need to start, in my opinion, they need to start on the defensive side. And I know last year they were the best defense in the National Football League. And I know they just added Von Miller and Leonard Floyd, and everybody's talking about how good this team is on defense. Well, they're great against the pass. And I know this is a passing league. And so against a lot of teams, like the Buccaneers and others, they're going to look good. But when they face a team that is physical and can run the ball, they're not good enough on defense right now, stopping the run. And so that's where it needs to start on the defensive side. Offensively, Scott, what people aren't looking at is this is a thin team, especially at the skill positions. You add Odell Beckham, but beyond that, right, you got Ben Skoranek is featured tonight, J.J. Koski. If they suffer another injury at receiver, look out. They've lost Johnny Munt, their second tight end. They have Tyler Higbee playing every single snap of the game. They've lost backs. Cam Akers is not. So, listen, this is a thin team offensively, and they need to get better on defense. If that's the real conversation Sean McVay needs to have with his team.
You know what's interesting, gentlemen, is you see Tampa Bay lose a couple in a row. You see the Rams lose a couple in a row. And look, the back end in the NFC, it's kind of a mess. But if I see Minnesota play to its ceiling, I think that's a good team. You see San Francisco play like they did tonight. That's a good team. Carolina's defense is nasty. I don't know what Cam's going to be, but I feel like there are a lot of interesting questions on the back end from the NFC side of things. How do you assess where we are as we head into the middle of November and head towards Thanksgiving? I mean, is this feel open to you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's why, look, obviously there's a race to get the #1 seed.
Sure.
Once the seeds are once they're established, I'll tell you this, you have a bad day, the playoffs will be as unpredictable as they've ever been this year once they kick off because of what you're seeing. Because it's going to be about health, who do you have available, and then really, Scott, look, coaches for years, for decades, since the beginning of time, have trying to figure out how to duplicate performance, get players to play to their maximum every single time. And this year has shown you, look, there have been some head scratchers as far as the performances teams have put out on the football field that you can't explain. Yeah, there's some teams that go into a game shorthanded. They don't have all their firepower. And to some degree tonight, look, you can explain some of the things that happened to the Rams offensively tonight, some of them. But not on the defensive side of the ball, as Brian alluded to, where there it's just a matter of execution and will. That's what it comes down to. That's why the playoffs are going to be that exciting, because you tell me who's going to come out of the
There's
NFC.
going to be a wild card team in the NFC that goes deep in the playoffs, and that's just the way it's going to be. And it's going to be the team, Scott, that gets better week in and week out and plays their best football as the season gets to an end.
I have to feel like that a lot of teams in the NFL, they're going to look at what the Atlanta Braves did. That was a team in August that was under 500, right? And they made some moves, and they got hot, had the worst record going into the playoffs. They just had a parade because they won the World Series. I feel like there are a bunch of teams in the NFC that are going to feel that same way. Give me a seat at the table. We'll take our shot. Look forward to talking to you guys next week. Tampa Bay will look to get right. They got the Giants coming to town. We'll talk then, all right?
All right, thanks, Scotty.
Thank you, boys. So the Rams miss an opportunity to tie the Cardinals atop the NFC West. Of course, they didn't have Kyler Murray for the second week in a row. They won without him last week against San Francisco, not this week against Carolina. Niners get back to a game under 500. A lot of work to do, but a night like tonight shows you what they can be. Rams have the bye next week. Seahawks host the Cardinals. San Francisco taking that trip across the country to take on Jacksonville. All right, coming up,